YWRN.com.
Yuwise up in the building.
YWRN.com. YWRN.com.
You are listening to Random Replays on Yuwise Radio Network. Rewind, replay, repeat at random. Remember, it is best to listen to the live program so that you can participate by interacting with the host and guests. Rewind, replay, repeat.
Hey yo DJ,
Fire baby,
bring that record back.
YWRN.com. YWRN.com. This track is brought to you by Yuwise.com. YWRN.com.
Yes, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time you are, whatever time zone you are in at this moment. Welcome once again on this beautiful day to the Empowerment Zone. My name is Everett Heaven, and you are listening right now to Yuwise.com. So give thanks for your spending some time. There are a million places you could be at this moment, but you choose to come listen to the Empowerment Zone. Listen to some little reasoning that we have. Yes, so this evening we're going to talk about a couple of topics here. And a brethren is supposed to call in, and we will chop it up with him, do a little reason with him. And I don't know if the technical situation will allow it, but we are hoping that he will call up and we have a little discussion on Rastafari and the movement of Rastafari and where it's going and where it is and the future and all of that good stuff, you know. So that's where that is at this moment. So, you know, I was thinking today as to what is it that we could have a little discussion on tonight. What is it we could do a little reasoning with? What topics we could throw out there? And, you know, two things come to mind. Because, as I say all the time, the Empowerment Zone is strictly about improvement. Improvement of self, and therefore, as a end result of that self-improvement would be a societal improvement. The country as a whole must improve. The people, once the people improve, the country will improve. And improvement equal empowerment. Because to improve on anything, it takes work. And to be empowered takes work. So they work hand in hand. So tonight we're going to. I want to talk about unity. You know, you hear this phrase unity thrown about all the time. You know, if we could just unite, and work together. And we hear all these phrases, you know, nothing gonna happen until we work together. And we hear this all the time, but to be honest, is it really feasible? You know, what is it that we should unite about? Because unity will happen when there is a common agenda, when the people see a vision and is willing to work towards that vision, and that's where the unity come in. You know what I mean? So when you call in for unity all the time, people call for unity, but it's just broad. Well, you have to be specific. You know, it goes a little more. You'll hear people say, well, black people don't unite behind anything and this and that. But that is not true. That is not true, because when there's a cause that affects people and there is a movement in the direction of fixing a problem, then people will get on board. I say all the time that nobody, neither you nor me, nobody wants to get on a train that's not going anywhere. It just park. But when the train slowly moving, you want to get on it because it's going to take you somewhere. So it's the same thing. You know, it might be a overly simplistic idea or explanation or analogy, but it's the same thing. You know, there has to be a reason for people to come together and work together. If not, the call is just going to be there, a constant call for unity, an endless call for unity. So what are some examples of where people that come together achieve great things? And one of the big thing that I think of historically, there's so many, but you know, when the Maroons was fighting the English, the people united behind that common goal of defeating the English. And you know, in the United States, the civil rights movement with Martin Luther King, that too was black people coming together and working together. And so these things happen all the time. You know, people, when there's a common cause, people will be a part of it. People want to be a part of something big. So unity will happen and can happen, but there has to be a reason why. Why you gonna call people to unite and there is nothing for them to unite around? Just a general statement of unite. We hear of the economic unity. I hear of the Nation of Islam talk about this, of, you know, a cooperative type of system where people, self-financing, where people, you know, give money and you put that money in a pot and achieve certain businesses and so forth. Okay, here is a brethren here. Yeah, hold on a minute here. Yes, let me call him back now. Now I'm calling in, you know, which is a good thing. So anyway, I'm gonna get off of this little thing here and we're gonna talk to my brethren. Yes, my brethren, what is going on?
Hey, greetings, Everett. How's things?
All right. I started the program here. I was talking about unity, so now I'm going to give you tell the people who you are and give a little introduction and of who you are. Well, yes, Yuwise Universe. This is my brethren here. Was waiting on the call. Chief Iakongoi. I know him as David, but him go by Chief Iakongoi. And he's a visionary and a man who is doing the work down in Jamaica, you know. And I wanted to do a little reasoning with them this evening and for him to spread and share about the works that he is doing. I know he's a farmer and he has this great vision about Rastafari, which is very interesting to me. So I wanted to have a little reason with him. So yes, no, brethren. Yeah, Iakongoi, it's about
Yuwise.com.
Watch out, man. You're listening to Yuwise Radio. Keep it locked.
Yuwise.com. Yuwise.com.
Call in. Let your voice be heard. Yuwise, connecting you to the world around you.
Yuwise.com.
You know.
okay. Sorry about that. Yeah. So yeah, man. So So I want you to just tell us about your work and the vision that you have and what you're working towards.
Yeah, well, you know, that is a big bite right there. Yes, my vision. Well, give thanks for the moment and for, you know, the moment to share, yeah, with each other and even, you know, on a wider, you know, scale. The vision. Well, the vision is kind of the same vision that the liberation one who came before had in mind, you know, seeing our people completely self-governing and living free from under the bondage of colonialism and stuff like that. So Marcus and all of those who came before was aiming at that. And so I guess the vision is only to see a little further. It's not really to change the vision, but to continue to move a little closer to that fulfillment of, you know, because it's not just that Marcus saw it, you know, it's just that he was dealing with a collective. If you look at all the other ones that tried, they was looking on the collective or, you know, everybody, the nation, more than individuals or, you know, selfishness.
Yes.
Yeah, man, so that's the vision, the liberation, same way. Yeah,
yes,
man.
yes.
And for that food security, self-reliance, yeah, is key. And you're stepping forward. You have to make sure you establish a political structure, educational structure. That's a medical, but you know, your healing, holistic health structure. You have to have it all put together for the kids, for the women, you know.
Yes.
You have to put all that together when you're dealing with what's called nation building. Yeah, man.
Right. So now, when you speak of the nation building, is it throughout the whole country as a whole, or the whole population, or is basically within Rastafari?
Well, you have to remember that Rastafari at one time was kind of ostracized from what we would call the whole society, you know. But then slowly we saw people begin to realize Rastafari's purpose and, you know, benefit and, you know, what I call, you know, our contribution to the liberty here in Jamaica, you know, on a positive note for the youths and for society in general.
Right.
So when we say nation building, we have to remember that there was a stagnation and a hindrance on the Rastafari community by the Jamaican government, influenced by the American government, which was to keep back the Black Messiah. It went from Marcus to all of that. So people have to remember that Marcus came from here also. And so when what's that dude's name? Is it Dwight Eisenhower? I think that was his name.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of them was over there as president, decided that they were going to make sure that they were going to fight the rise of the Black Messiah. And so anyone that looked like they came to give the people light was either assassinated physically or character assassinated, and false charges and fraud and trumped up stuff was done to Marcus, and to mush up his whole agenda,
right,
which was I would say black sovereignty and self-rulership and self-governance and choosing our own destiny as a people, instead of ones that are currently and still controlling how we make productions in Africa, what we send out, what in raw material, what they make into byproducts and send back into Africa. So it's not just Jamaica, it's not even just Rasta. It is the liberation of all people from under the bondage of a Babylonian system. I would say a Roman system.
Mm-hmm.
And that is oppressive. It's slavery in just a broader word or sense, but it's hidden under democracy. It's hidden under, a freedom and stuff like that. And so as long as people believe that the system is actually there to give them liberty or give them justice, they will continue to be in this cycle where their children are churned up and spit out, and, gangsters and war, and nothing will change. It'll be the cycle of repetition. Mm-hmm. And there's a way of milking that negative energy on many scales and many degrees. There's a way of milking that negative energy. And so you're able to get higher taxes, for more police, for more arms and protection for the people, and you keep going by creating the crime. It's that concept of creating the problem and becoming the solution. Right. So that's what exactly is happening, and we realize as Rasta that based on the fact that we are an influence that is not just national on this island, but international. Mm-hmm. Right now in South Africa, there's 4 million Rastas there, right? Right. And so we're talking about growing exponentially and rapidly. And so we realize that the Rastafari community is kind of replaying the role of what Christianity was playing back in the days when Rome and Constantine took hold of that black Christianity, because a lot of people don't know it was black people being thrown to the lion. And so the Rome had taken charge of that black Christianity through Constantine and the Nicene Council in 325 AD, and they put it together that this was such a powerful movement, and they could commercialize on it and take it over. So that's basically the repetition that we see happening with Rastafari right now. I feel the way that Rastafari is influencing the world and such a powerful voice. And we see the government of Jamaica is now saying they want to brand it, take charge of it, and going through every step they can to basically own Rastafari. I'm just telling y'all straight. But my thing is that the Rastafari movement, being an indigenous movement, is where the problem and the misunderstanding is. So the word indigenous would mean to some that you come from the island itself, right? Or the location. But, when we say indigenous, basically as Rastafari, we're speaking about even the fact that Ethiopia is considered to be the mother of, mankind. The oldest bones are continually being found there. And these things, so Ethiopia, where the Nile begins and all these things, we know our ancients, gave Ethiopia high, or Kush, high, what we say, praise and a space in our history. Just a moment. And so what I'm saying is that Ethiopia then would be actually the mother or father of mankind or man or humanity on that level. So when we, as Rastafari, look to Ethiopia, when we look to Ethiopia as the source, as Rasta, and connected to Haile Selassie, and then they wanted to make Rasta like it originated in Jamaica. That wasn't the case. The next thing is that Rasta was told, or the Jamaican people was told by Haile Selassie himself, that the Jamaicans are Ethiopian blood brothers, not just a concept, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so we know, you know, Ethiopia is the mother of all man, and therefore indigenous would be considered that, you know, as His Majesty said, wherever water touches the land, you will find Ethiopians there. So Ethiopians populated the planet, really, even all the way to where you call India, Indus Kush, you see. And so the Indus Kush Valley and all of that is connected to Ethiopia's government, or Ethiopia, you know, culture stretching across all the way to the Indian Ocean. Even the Atlantic Ocean was originally called the Ethiopian Ocean, you see.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, let me come around to Jamaica, and because when I look at the Rastafari in Jamaica, I don't see many youth coming into Rastafari and growing the movement, you know, the younger ones, and is mostly elders that you will see. You know, you don't see too many young people, and I'm very concerned about that, and I want to know, you know, how you feel about that.
Okay, well, as far as if they're young people and coming into Rasta, I think there's a lot of young people coming into Rasta, especially when you're dealing with the conscious reggae music, and, you know, the fact that there were so many young youths like Jamil and all of these ones that was coming up. All of them have locks. Even Yaks and all of these young brethren coming were coming with locks. You know, Chronics, all of them,
Mm-hmm.
Protege, Aka Pyramid, and these were the ones influencing the street. So what I'm saying is that, yeah, there's a lot that maybe, you know, where you are or where we are, we might not see, or, you know, locks. But even in my community here in Caldwell,
Mm-hmm.
all the youth around here, all of them, you have basically, if there's 40 youths around here, 35 of them have locks on their head,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been influenced by, you know, people like me, people like, you know, the other older Rastas that was living here and
Mm-hmm.
past,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so I see that there is that happening where people might say, well, where is the children? Because if you don't have the children of any nation being born, you don't have a nation, and I understand that.
Right.
But what's happening is the youths are coming into a time where Rasta wasn't. Remember, the original Rasta was oppressed and had to kind of hide his religion, like how Christians had to do back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so after all that, now you find it's like a more relaxed and more acceptable, and the parents ain't kicking you out for locks anymore because it's, you know, Damian Crawford or whatever his name is in politics, in parliament with locks. Locks is everywhere. So it's not so much a restriction on Rasta anymore. And so the youths, them that are coming into Rasta, they're coming in on a less strict, you know, mode. Back then, Rasta was very strict. To be quiet, you can't let nobody know, say they're over here, so and so forth.
Right.
But most of the life was out on the street. So what I'm saying is that this generation of Rasta is more connected to Babylon Rasta.
Okay.
And so they're at work. They get to go to school with their locks and so long they put it under a hat or on something. And so these kind of things wasn't allowed to the original Rasta.
Yeah.
And so it's a different cup of tea.
Yeah.
And so what's happened is I myself being a chief, honorary chief in the Rastafari community, what I'm doing is doing something called Sankofa to Ito, which the original lifestyle of the Rastafari was an Ito liberty that has been hijacked by the GMO vegan life.
Right.
And so veganism has replaced Ito. Same way how the young youths today is not the same kind of Rasta. They're more like a GMO kind of Rasta right now. They sit down at barber shops or beauty salons and get their hair twisted and all that. Original Rasta bun out barber shop, bun out beauty salon, right?
Yes.
You have to be natural Congo bongo, you know what I'm saying? So what's happening, what I'm saying is that right now I'm on a camp heel instead of campaign to do what is called Sankofa to Ito. When you're introducing this culture to people, it should be from the Ito level. You shouldn't be trying to be an apologetic person where you're trying to say, well, if a man want name him this or name him that, me not go fight a man. No, we don't eat fish. We don't eat any of that as Rasta, real Rasta.
Yeah.
So every real Rasta knows what a real Rasta is, even if I go lean,
Yeah.
Even if I name two fish and, or whatever I'm on, him knows the real Rasta is Ito. You see me, sir?
Yeah.
And so it's vital. It's vital. And that's what, you see, when you lose that richness and genuineness, then things get watered down. Then the youth start getting it watered down, you see? And so they think they could do anything. All of them pants off of them body and these things and saying they're Rasta, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So all of these things is because of a lack of Ito. And so Sankofa to Ito is my camp heel process of bringing us forward to our original selves.
Okay, yes. And I wanted to touch on your endeavor, the Rastafari month. I really like that concept, and I just want you to share with us more about that.
The Rastafari month. You said Rastafari month. I'm glad you said that, and not Rastafari day.
Yeah. I know.
Because the Rastafari month is April that we have discovered so much of the history of Rastafari seems to take place in that month. You understand?
Yeah.
And so it's mystical how many things take place in the month of April. I couldn't even begin to run them down to you. We move and have, indigenously and sovereignly accepted that as our month. Now you have something happening now called Rastafari Day, where someone or a group of people who, on their own merit of doing their own personal benefit, is trying to get the Rastafari Day process done. Now let me explain what this is, because as I said, with the trying to usurp and take over the Rastafari movement, there's things that need to be done. One of them would be for you to own a holiday of Rastafari that you are fully in charge of, who fly in, the tourists, the planning of it. So if you what you call make a request for the Rastafari Day with a group of so-called Rastas, and you put it before the government, and the government, because it's all pre-planned, says, wow, this is a great idea. Let's go ahead and do the Rastafari Day. Now, the government and this small group of Rastas own this day, okay?
Oh.
They'll be the ones, any income, any funding, any planning, goes through them. Now they own the day named Rastafari Day. Now, so these are the kind of things of what I'm saying, where you see they're purposefully trying to own up Rasta. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's why I laughed when you said Rastafari month and not day, because I also had a chance now to speak to you and the public about this Rastafari Day. Rastafari is an indigenous sovereign movement that makes its own self-governing choices. And therefore, if we, the July 23rd, that's already a Rastafari holiday, if you want to call it that we accept, we chose, and therefore we don't need any government to validate that day for Rasta. And that's when you lack knowledge of your own self-governance. You allow governments and others to validate your days and so forth. And so that's what I'm saying. When we come into the full awareness of being sovereign indigenous Rastafari, we'll be like what the Maroons are. Where the Maroons choose their chiefs, they run in their communities, you understand? Mm-hmm. And so even with ganja, where the government is making the choices of what Rasta does with ganja, that's another infringement upon the Rastafari community. Because when you read the UN DRIP, which is the Universal Declaration, or the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the UN DRIP, you will find that in the UN DRIP it specifically says that the Rastafari, or AKA the indigenous people, have a right to establish their own mean of economics, you see? Mm-hmm. And so when you go to what took place with Rastafari, who were considered to be outcasts, criminals for selling ganja and smoking it. Now, selling it was our only means of economics, because we were banned from work and education, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's our base economics right there.
Yeah.
So when the government of Jamaica gets involved and say, oh, wow, we've been wrong, we're going to decriminalize the marijuana, which I say is a recriminalizing of the marijuana, they then are saying they're going to allow 2 ounces to be ticketable. Now, if you allow 2 ounces of ganja and yet it's still ticketable, you have not decriminalized anything. See? You've only recriminalized it. For those who don't understand legalese, you're basically saying, look, up to 2 ounce, I'm only going to give you a ticket. Anything above 2 ounce, I'm going to charge you and bring you to jail. So this means that it's still a crime.
Yeah.
And so the people have been duped. And so many of the Rastafari family had been duped. And, now they're still getting charged for ganja, even though the government claimed we had rights to sacramental growing and sharing amongst the Rastafari indigenous community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So all of this is a sham. I'm coming back around. I'm just wrapping up.
Yeah. I want you, when you finish, I want you to come back to the Rastafari idea, because I have a couple questions on that. But anyway, go ahead and finish what you're saying.
Okay. So basically what we're saying is that the indigenous rights that Rastafari is supposed to have is being walked on by these kind of infringements like ganja, being that it was our original smoking. No one need to tell us they given us any right to smoke. Mm-hmm. This is what you are chasing us and charging us for. And no one needs to tell us that we could sell it, because this is what you was chasing. So the moment you say we accept you as a faith, you have to accept all that goes with us, right? The moment you say that we are an indigenous group to Jamaica, you have to accept all that goes with us. You, as the government or the state, don't have the right to tell Rasta how many ganja plants they could plant, how much they could smoke it, when they could smoke it. A according to the law internationally, this is an infringement upon our rights. And so only the what we say, ignorance of the Rastafari to their rights as indigenous sovereign people has allowed this kind of a ball game to be getting played in their own backyard. And so all I'm trying to do as chief is to bring the awareness to the Rastafari community that if they were to pick up the UN drip and read the articles in it, you would find where it specifically says that the state has no right to infringe upon I&I economic process. And selling ganja, making different byproducts from it, everything else, even going towards the hemp, making clothes and bags and anything like that. That's our indigenous sovereign practice that we should be able to practice. Even if you're saying it can be done amongst your state, we should be able to ship it from Rasta community to Rasta community. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so all of this indigenous power and awareness is been whitewashed, we'd say watered down by we call them spotlight rosters, or those who are willing to work with the system for their own personal benefits, is what I started off with. And so we come full 100 now to this Rastafari Day. And Rastafari Day is also a personal benefit process that has been, it's connected even to the taking over of the Rastafari community by the government. So, like I said, if you come to a Rastafari Day and you say you own it, right, now it's going to be connected to the Reggae Highway, and all of this is going on with this group from Trelawney side. So, Falmouth, and this village, artisan village that's out there. And so they're taking all of the reggae, the Rasta out of Kingston, out of Trenchtown, and bringing it over here near the airport in Mobay. And from Mobay, the airport there, you're going to go Reggae Highway now. And people are going to be able to sell reggae coconuts out on the side. It's a slave cocoon, rob our culture thing that's going on, and people need to be alerted to it. This might not be what you wanted me to speak on.
Yeah, no, I listen, I never know anything about this, so I'm happy to hear. So let me ask you this. So July 23rd is the day that you are affiliated with?
That's the day that we call. That's Lich Tafari's birthday, or Tafari McConnell's birthday.
Okay, and so the other day now from the group in Trelawney, which day is that? The government day. Which day is that?
It's the same day. It's right. Look, July 23rd is naturally Rastafari. We'd say Earth Day.
Okay.
But we know that it's really Tafari McConnell. It's not Rastafari's Earth Day, because Ras is a tightly received years into his life. Mm-hmm. So it is not Rastafari's Earth Day. It's really Tafari McConnell's Earth Day, right? Okay. That's what he was born as on that day, right? Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying to you, that when these government and tourist people get together and say, let's make a Rastafari Day, they're not connecting actually to Haile Selassie. They're connecting to the group called Rastafari that's on the island.
Right. So So they want to make it like a holiday type of thing?
For themselves as the government, right?
Okay.
And so
they want to commercialize it. They want to commercialize it.
There you go. And the thing is this, for the Jamaican government to know that the real Rastafari community to speak to is not on board, yet it's willing to use any grouping of Rasta to push any further agenda to own more of Rasta. So what the international law says is that by informed consent and along with the representation from Rasta, the government of Jamaica then can make moves with Rasta.
Okay.
So when you have a grouping that says, look, we're going to push for Rastafari Day, and then they write it down and send it to the government says, oh, this is a Rastafari grouping, and this will give me even more power in Rastafari.
I see.
At the same time, it's not like it's strange to the person writing it to the government, because it's all part of their plan.
Mm-hmm.
So these people writing this request for the government to approve Rastafari Day did not come to the Rastafari community and get the approval from the real grassroots Rastafari Ancient Council and all of those things.
Yeah.
All they did was they just put it out there, and knowing that there are commercial dreadies and Rastafari involved in tourism that would benefit from that more than the community would. This is how they siphon off the energy at all times.
Okay. So now
Rastafari Day is a scam. Rastafari month is the real thing.
Okay, so Rastafari month now. This past April was the first, or it was before that?
Well, it was before. We, like I said, we as indigenous, we kept up all of those times that, for instance, what happened in Coral Gardens and all that.
Right.
We kept those things up.
Okay.
Right?
I see.
We didn't need the government. We didn't need the government. But with the government now saying, we also recognize it, that is something that the UN DRIP says the state must do. Because the indigenous people of a nation or our land is the heartbeat and the real cultural bloodline that keeps a nation afloat. Mm-hmm. When they want to go back to what made this nation, they have to go back to Marcus Garvey. They have to go back to Rasta. They have to go back to, you understand?
Yes.
What made the culture of this island so vibrant and so effective across the world for being such a small nation. They can't say it's because of Christianity or, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
they have to go back to reggae music and, you know what I mean? All right. So what I'm saying is that, go ahead, what were you saying?
Yes, so the month now, the coming month, as we had talked before, the next April coming up, you will have celebrations, more celebrations, or what will come up?
Man, definitely more focus, more vibrant focus, more forums, more what you would call conferences based upon that month, more Zoom calls, everything like that, and events happening at different locations.
Yeah, well,
and so.
I'm just saying. Well, as I had mentioned to you, we at the Empowerment Center, we certainly want to host a gathering, a Rastafari gathering during that time. I just want to bring it up again and make it be clear, because
I remember that I was referring. So what I would have to do is to actually bring it to the collective that there is an event that should be or wanting to be, and we'll take it to the proper channel so that it sets its precedent that way.
Yes,
that way every year you can have an event there.
Right. Well, I really like the move. I like what you're doing, and I know time, we have to wrap it up in a couple of minutes here, but I just wanted you to just touch on your farming. I know you very into the food security, and I really appreciate that part too. If you can just give us a little snippet of what you're doing.
Well, you can want food security, and then it takes a lot to even really get to that point. But you go ahead and you do what you can with what you have. Mm-hmm. So what you do, you continue to do models, of what can grow. You create stuff that is natural instead of fertilizer. You might have fertilizer. and you continue to, use natural compost and things to feed the ground, as that's a project that we have here in what we're called rejuvenescence. So rejuvenescence is dealing with the rejuvenation of all the soil and stuff like that fertilizers has destroyed and dried out and stuff. So you bring back the leaves and the trash, and
right.
you revitalize the soil and bring the humus and so forth back.
Right.
So that's really where I am with farming, and we do our thing called Rastafari, which is basically an agro-processing limited company that we have here in Jamaica. Again, you might have all that, and you need the help, you need the support, and it might just be, an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Marcus has so many different ideas. He opens so many different businesses. It shows that all that can be done. And while we're dealing with the Rastafari nation building, all of these different ideas that I've come up with will eventually fit in to different offices and different institutions for, because when you're building a nation, you have to look for what is going to be necessary. Like I said when we started, from education to housing to everything else.
Absolutely.
So farming is the backbone. Farming is the backbone of any nation, and that's what you go back to history. It shows you agriculture is where towns and cities grew up around. If not, they'd have to keep moving as nomads.
Yes.
But once began to domesticate, the woman actually began to domesticate and to be able to farm and keep food in a vicinity they didn't have to move from. Then you began having towns and cities and everything else springing up.
Yes, well, my brethren, I wish we could go on some more, but I just want to give thanks. We have to cut it now.
Watch
And
out, man.
I just want
listening to Yuwise Radio. Keep it locked.
YWRN.com. YWRN.com.
Whether you're inclined to a station that is music intensive or information packed, in Yuwise, you will find what you need.
YWRN.com. YWRN.com.
Yuwise Radio. Up in the building.
YWRN.com. YWRN.com.
You are listening to random replays on Yuwise Radio Network. Rewind, replay, repeat at random. Remember, it is best to listen to the live program so that you can participate by interacting with the host and guests. Rewind, replay, repeat.
Hey yo DJ,
Fire, baby.
bring that record back. YWRN.com. YWRN.com. This track is brought to you by Yuwise.com. Yuwise.com.